Leadership Talk series, wherein we are interviewing leaders across domains, verticals, industries. This is going to be beneficial for young professionals, management students, engineering students, and students across various domains and various subjects. Today, our guest is Sriram, has done his graduation in applied sciences, went on to do his specializing in finance and marketing, and has worked predominantly in HR. It's a very interesting career that he has had so far. And the last 1.5 years, he's quit the corporate sector and has become a happiness coach. Let us understand his journey. Welcome, Sriram. We welcome you to My Startup TV. We are doing this Leadership Talk series in collaboration with My Startup TV. And like I said, you've done a post-graduation from Bharatiya University. Please walk us through your journey.
I started in 97. I joined Mercedes-Benz at that point of time, and it was a marketing job. And I quickly realized that that was not where my core strengths were. And it took a few years for me to then shift from there to Infosys. And at Infosys, I found my path in a way. And at that point of time, Infosys was recruiting for people, from sales backgrounds. That's how I got into HR. And since then, it's gone 24 years now. I've been in HR, various kind of roles. In Infosys, I moved across locations. And then from there, I moved to a company called Shaw as head of HR in 2009. And then we split the Shaw into two firms, and I went to a startup called RCCM in 2016. And then I got out last year to really pursue my passion, which is around the theme of happiness at work, happiness with individuals, and so on.
What are the aspects you have, what are the facets you have taken care of in the HR domain? My second question is, for the young students, management students who have specialized in HR, what do you advise them? What is the career path they should choose? Who have chosen HR?
Start with, what I've done in HR. I started with recruitment. I slowly moved into employee relations. From employee relations, I moved into development center management. From development center management, I was part of the team that created business partnering HR at that point of time. From business partnering, in that role, I was anyway doing a little bit of training as well. From there, I then became head of HR, which was a larger portfolio with compensation, benefits, all of that came in. I think you, as a student, if you're kind of getting into HR, now what's happening is that there are specializations within the domain itself, and a recruiter's core skills are probably different from a compensation specialist versus somebody who's business partnering, because all of these have a slightly different front-ending competency. Like a recruiter has to sell the job to the candidate. A compensation benefit specialist has got to have the data mindset, where their accuracy, the ability to analyze is very important. And whereas a business partner is somebody who can relate to people, who can kind of get. So there are, in HR itself, there are these variants. So it's not one job.
Different segments.
There are several pieces to it. The key is to really figure out what is it that I excel at, what makes me come alive in that, and then quickly try and get closer to that to the extent possible. In any job, there's always a mix of things that you will do, but it is about knowing your core and doing more of that.
And learning.
As part of that, any job will have to have, expertise. You have to invest in learning throughout, and that is not a journey that ends at any point. For a youngster or at any point, learning is important because things are constantly changing.
Right. What is the difference for a young student who's in the first year or the second year? Colleges unfortunately don't prepare the student for the corporate trend, for the corporate business. So what is the difference between HR, BP, and what is ER? And my second question is, can I just get into HR and not into HR, BP, or ER?
Okay, so again, these are nuances where, I would say if you're getting in and you're keen in an HR career, just get in and gradually navigate your way through the processes. But to answer your question of what's the difference, right? A business partner is somebody who's working closely with the business, and hence they are driving the business's people agenda, which is, so how do I achieve this business goal through people, and how can somebody help me with that? That's really what the business
partner. Can you elaborate, please?
Okay. So if somebody is a business partner, then they work closely with the business unit head who will say, okay, listen, my attrition in that particular team is high. Okay, I need to contain that. Can you help me? And then the business partner kind of gets into that. Then they look at the data from an external perspective. There is a manager who's already there, who's doing the job. But then the business partner comes in with a slightly outside view with the intention of helping you.
Sure.
And then you look at that thing and then you realize, okay, problem could be the manager, problem could be the kind of work, problem could be the type of people we've hired. And hence they are able to then come back, look at it very objectively, and then influence the change, saying, oh, people need to be trained, or the manager needs to get some perspective, or the business needs to take care of people better or give a slightly different job. So that is how a business partner tries to influence it through different facets of analysis, influence, training, coaching.
Interesting point that you mentioned is it could be a wrong hire as well. What is that, and how do we rectify that? Or how do we fix that? Supposing an employee or set of candidates have joined the company and they don't fit into either the culture or the job. How does an HRPP fix that?
Okay. But it's not an easy fix. First, I think we should agree that sometimes everything doesn't have a very easy fix. This is one of the problems, which is a real problem. And there are few ways to look at it. First, I think the most important thing is to understand that it is a wrong hire. Many times we just don't want to accept it or don't want to acknowledge it, and it takes a while to get that going. So first is to acknowledge, saying that okay, it's not working. Once there is a clear understanding it's not working, then you have some options, which is that can this person fit somewhere else with what we have? If that is the case, then make the movement possible. Sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not. Then it could be an issue of can we train the person, reskill them to what we have? That will require some effort. That will also require some effort to the individual, because they need to also invest and say that okay, I am willing to be part of this to reskill. If that's possible, then you do. If none of that works, then I think we should say at some point saying that okay, it's not working. You don't have the opportunity. You are not ready for reskilling. Then we need to take it to a logical closure of saying that okay, let's just part ways, but with a reasonable conversation, giving them the time and so on. So it's always real. Keep it real is my thing, and to the extent possible, we must always treat people well, whatever the situation.
Absolutely. Since I come from an HR background as well, I completely agree with Sriram that you have to treat people well. It's not that cannot be hire and fire. My next question to you is, Sriram, as once an employee joins in the let's say one candidate or student joins in the recruitment department, can he move into complement benefits or ER or PMS, etc.? And how?
If somebody comes in, I think there are two types of growth which are possible. One is grow in the same line, or grow across and then move and then grow. Okay?
Laterally and then vertically.
So now the question is, first is that you don't want to make these movements based on whims and fancies of saying, oh, I saw that person, they achieved that. That's a different story. When you match your passion and your skills and then say that as part of what I want to achieve, I think that will add to my dimension of.
You also are talking about have fixed or set goals and then achieve your goals.
And always rely on who you are and what you can influence the most.
Your core strength.
The core strength. See, if you are an extremely good recruiter, and then you say, I want to become a compensation specialist who's going to sit and work in front of the computer and data all the time. Now, is that really good for you? That may give you a temporary growth because that may be a role which is slightly elevated from what you're doing. But eventually, if it's not tallying with who you are and what you're good at, that's not going to give you growth. So that is the illusion that we must not succumb to, but really look at it from saying that, and today growth is possible. And that's my whole message is become an expert, become excellent, pursue excellence. Expert is that you really know your domain really well. And this whole thing of I spent 2 years, I spent 1 year, I know everything, that's not enough.
Okay. Very rightly said, because youngsters today want everything in very short time. It's not, life is not 2-minute Maggi noodles. So what is the advice that you give them?
See, I am all for energy. I'm all for, the need to grow, need to learn. But I'm also for realistic, practical patience. And because what we often think is only one dimension of intellect, but there is social intelligence, there is emotional intelligence, there is, and all of these are part of your growth. And some of them take time. It requires maturity for you to deal with people. You want to lead people. You have to inspire people. How can you inspire people with an intellectual knowledge? Unless you've really gone through that yourself. Right? And that's what people sometimes fail to understand. We are somehow too caught up in the intellect part and say, oh, I know it all. As a thing, and most of it is coming from internet, from, that's not enough.
True. You have to not just learn from the internet like you mentioned, but you also have to be soaking and learning hands-on. My next question to you, Sriram, is if one gets into compound benefits in terms of growth and there is an opportunity, I would very strongly advise that student or that young professional to learn Excel thoroughly. Beyond just learning, what else can he do to grow vertically and laterally?
Important is to network and get to know what is happening in there. Because sometimes we are like that frog in the well. We think, I know everything, but you have to get out of the well. Then you know, oh my God, there's a huge world out there. And then there are so many more things to learn. And then ideas come like that. How did Steve Jobs, put a brick phone and your Walkman and a computer together? That's creativity. When different things come in and then you're able to make something tangible of that in your workplace. That is creativity and innovation.
I will just add one more point to what Sriram just mentioned is beyond just wanting to grow into another role, you also have to ensure that you value add to that role. Because there will be 10 others. So what is the difference that you are going to create for that role? Do you want to add to that point?
See, when we want to value add, we must also have a little bit of humility. Okay? Because sometimes what happens with intellectual knowledge is our ego kicks in, you become arrogant and you start thinking they don't know, I know. Right? But influence is not that. When you want to really make a difference, the biggest thing that you get as you go higher in your levels is that realize that I have to influence.
Absolutely.
And if I have to influence, I need to work with the person who's opposite me. You have to get into their mindset. You have to understand what they're going through. Then tweak what you are saying, what you want to their language. And that's a lot of effort. It's not.
And that's not just your colleague, but it's our juniors. And your juniors probably 10 years down the line. 10 years junior than you.
Because knowing is not enough. It is to get people to do things as well as you.
Very true. It is very important to connect with youngsters, not just in the context of saying hi, how are you, and things like that, but context of saying go down to their level, learn and be adaptable, adapt and adopt. That's my philosophy all the time. You also have worked with Mysore Infosys, and that was that was a job that was given to you, which you did not want to take. Can you please?
I was just extremely reluctant to move, but then my boss, was much more senior and older, called me and said, "See, these kind of opportunities don't come off. You must take this up if you're serious about it." And I know the people who are there, they will take care of you. You will really kind of, so based on his maturity and his kind of thing. I took it up a little reluctantly. The first day I ran over there, exploring and saying, okay, what have I gotten myself into? Then it turns out the next 5 years of my life are probably best. Okay, just because of the fact that I really enjoyed that experience with the people that I was working with the freedom I got, with the amount of stuff that I was able to, really kind of. And the fact was that I took that risk. I was willing to kind of say, okay, I'm serious about my career, and even though I wasn't really kicked about doing it, I did it, and then I realized that's what I got to do. And sometimes people are too stuck on with the location, with the circle, and so on. If you really want to go, grow, you have to go after. Yeah, go after where your growth is. Don't be like shut in a thing saying, oh, this is what I can do, I will not do that and all that. You go try it. If it doesn't work, then it's okay. But most times, in that trying is where you go out of your comfort zone. Right. Then you realize, oh, I'm actually good at it.
There are two questions that comes to my mind. One is, how does one take risks? Because risks is something which we get claustrophobic and don't want to take that. Second is, that could be the second question. The first question is, what are the various rules that you take in your Bangalore's tenure?
I'll answer the second question because it's easier. Okay, so I started with the development center HR, where I took on a business partner, we lead for a big, kind of unit. By the time I left, actually, I was leading 2 business units, and then I moved to a bigger center as the head of that location. So, all those kind of movements happened, but the big thing was that I had the leader of one business unit sitting out there. He was absolutely inspirational. So many things that I've learned from him, which I still kind of value a lot. So that's the second easier part. Risk taking. I've taken the biggest risk of my life last year by moving out of corporate into something which is kind of thing. Now, how do you make that decision, right? One is to really know what you want. That I've always known, and I've known for about 7-8 years that these are the kind of things I want to do. I want to teach, I want to train, I want to coach, I want to write. Okay, and I want to make a difference to a larger audience through who I am and what I know. So, and through knowing that also it took me some 7 years to actually, be willing to take that risk. So it takes time to kind of, but it's not about taking a foolhardy risk.
That's very nice.
It is about being practical, saying, I'm passionate about this, and at this point of time, can I do it? Okay, do I have the little bit of financial support that can help me take this risk, which is important, so that we don't, kind of just blindly run into something. But beyond that, there is an element of knowing that I have to go all in into this, give it my everything, and really make it work. If you are really passionate about something and that's aligned with, what you are trying to kind of get into, and if you're willing to have the patience to wait and go through the grind, that's where your whole point, that resilience will test you.
Resilience, persistence.
And because in that process, it is not just for the heck of it, right? In that process of resilience is where you grow. It is where you think out of the box, where you're saying, okay, how can I do more? How can I reinvent myself? How can I, kind of make a bigger impact? So that comfort zone goes away because now it becomes survival.
So I like 2 more adjectives out there: resilience, persistence, and consistency.
Yeah, correct.
I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah.
When you were working with Infosys and you went to Mangalore, I understand your journey.
Yeah.
You then moved on to D. Shaw.
Yes.
Can you walk us through that?
So D. Shaw was entirely different, right? So Infosys had been almost 10 years, and I had the best experience for a while, and then I felt like I was not growing and I needed a change of thing. And this is a good role, it was head of HR role, but it is a completely different culture. So it was an MNC, it was a hedge fund, technology setup, extremely top end. That is that you have the top talent in the country, very well paid, and at that point of time, HR was kind of irrelevant. It was all being run by mostly the business and what they thought was right for people. And so from a process to policy to benefits to, getting the team right, to really making, they had a good culture. It was not that they had a bad culture, they had a good culture. But HR was not the driver of many things over there. So
it was the HR team and HR process.
While it was there, it was not really something that was seen as a very important function. Right? From there to really now, even now, if there are people who will talk about things, and now people who moved out and gone to other companies, they say that we still talk about the culture that was there when you were kind of managing HR there, and through that I'm now getting some business also, because people are saying, okay, sure, I want my HR person to talk to you as a thing. But that was the kind of thing we took from, because it had good ingredients, but HR wasn't very good. So we built that whole thing, and they were willing to, they were not a very stingy firm, so they were willing to spend money. So it gave me some freedom to kind of operate. And I think we really took it to, I would say at that point of time, 2009 to maybe 2000, 3-4 years, we were among the, top companies in the country.
D-Show was a very predominant company, and it still is. Yeah. Going back to the risk point of view, young professionals, youngsters today, after the graduation, they want to become entrepreneurs. What are the 3 salient points that you will advise for the young professionals, young students who want to become entrepreneurs, or even the young professionals who just 2-3 years in the career, they want to become entrepreneurs?
The why is extremely important, because you don't get into it for the fact of it. You don't get into it because I don't want to be part of corporate. You don't want to get into it because I don't like my manager. Okay, all those are not the right reasons. Certainly, that's the first element of it. Now, if your why is good, second is, are you willing to take risks? Because you know for a fact that not everybody makes it. In that journey, a lot of people fall off. Many more people fall off than people make it. We don't know the stories of people who make it. We don't know the stories of people who don't make it. But there's enough data to say many people don't make it. Okay? And that's a fact of entrepreneurship. Are you ready to, so if you're looking for success and not willing to do what it takes to succeed, that's not a journey for you. Then you're better off in a place where you will continue to get that steady income, and that's not a bad thing. Right? It's just knowing what I'm ready for. Right? Third is that when you are an entrepreneur, it is a multi-faceted journey. You have to do everything. Right?
From the janitor to the managing director.
Correct. You have to do everything and be okay to do everything. Right? And those are the 3 elements. And if you're willing to go all in, if you know that this is why I want to do it, and if you have the resilience, persistence, and the risk-taking ability to kind of sustain it, then it's a journey. Don't go into entrepreneurship just because you have an idea. Oh, I have an idea. People have millions of ideas. You know how many thoughts people, everybody gets about 60,000 thoughts a day. In the 60,000 thoughts, there are some 2-3 ideas that people get. It is not the idea. It is that I am willing to make this idea work, and I am willing to do whatever it takes. And I believe it.
Right. When a student or a young professional wants to become an entrepreneur, you have to have the funding capacity. It should be coming from the family or yourself. The second, very long way down the line, maybe 5 years, you will get venture capitalists who will fund you. So what is the advice you would give the student to prepare to become an entrepreneur? In both context of his abilities and his financial abilities.
So first let's talk about what is in our control, which is your abilities. So remember that the entrepreneurial journey is a multi-faceted journey. So you need to know a little bit of finance. You need to know of marketing. You need to know your domain. You need to know the product. So you have to now, because many times why the entrepreneurial journey works is because you're not willing to look at the other domains, because you have an aversion to it. Oh, I can't deal with numbers. I can't. This is one story. Okay, you think that the vendor on the job needs all those capabilities apart from selling, sourcing, quality checks, customer relationship. He's doing all of that. You have to do all of that. Okay, so it's simple equation. Where are you ready to do? Because some people say, no, I'm only interested in the idea and talking about the idea. I'll not do anything else. That's also okay, so long as you have the expertise available at for you to somebody else or from anybody else. Then it's kind of still okay to be able to build the.
I'll interject you here. If you were having 3-4 people like Sriram mentioned who can join your team, they should also be in the capacity to not be earning a single rupee for the next 6 months or 1 year.
So I'll come to the financial part, but even if you have 3-4 people, the best combination is to have complementary skills with some overlap. So it is like you take two circles, there is an overlap, okay, and then but then you have, like you form like a chain. Right? That I can do product, somebody else can do digital marketing, somebody can do finance. Okay, then it's an extremely good. If all of you can do the same thing, you don't have too much, kind of thing. So think of that aspect as well. Now, the financial aspect, right, which is that if you believe in the idea, go all in, give it everything. If you need to borrow, do that as a thing, but understand that it will take time. No good thing in this world ever got done in quick fix. Nothing. Nobody, including what you see as success stories, have all gone through those journeys of, kind of in their own way. They've had to struggle, right? You will also have to struggle. So there is no running away from that thing. All it is to be realistic, saying that the struggle, how much time are you willing to give yourself? Okay, and I would say a reasonable time is anywhere between about 2.5 to 3 years is a good timeline to really be prepared for, to give everything, go after something, make it work. And at that point, if it doesn't work, then you should know that this is not. And because there's always a time when you abandon ship, right? If you wait too long, you crash, right? So you don't want to crash also. So, but 3 years, I would say, is because the incubation, the whole thing. By the time you kind of get into second year is when actually things start moving for you. And by the third year, you know how much it's really going to take off or what is going to happen, right? And then you know, is it working for me? It's not working for me. And kind of at that point, but are you willing to give yourself to this? Are you willing to go all in? If you are willing to do these two things, then it's work.
Going by the last point that you mentioned, are you willing to give that kind of time? If, for whatever reasons, the entrepreneurship business or my role in a particular job, specifically entrepreneur, it does not work out. I'm asking you in the context of young professionals succumbing to pressure. What is the inputs you want to give the young professionals, students, and not necessarily just young professionals? We had Cafe Day, CMT committing suicide. So what is the most important things that students, young professionals should learn and not succumb to pressure?
Remember, life is too precious to be wasted. It doesn't matter. What we think of failure is a construct. Okay? And you know how many times Babur attacked before he became successful. If you go back into history, there are so many failures that, we celebrate the victories, but there is so many things that came, even with the most successful people, even who you revere as people who think, Steve Jobs, he went into hiding. He was, chased out of his own company and he was like, out of that before he came back into it. So there is no thing saying that this is a failure. Yeah, there is a learning.
There's a journey.
There's a journey. In that journey, there will be up and down. That is the way of life. And if you live long enough, you will know that as you go down, you'll also come up. That is how it is. And sometimes the pressure goes up. And at that point of time, you take help to understand that it will pass. You stick through it. Be through it. Whatever has to happen. Okay, what's the worst that can happen? Your money will go. So what? They can come back as a thing. But life cannot come back. Okay, so many times, and I see this with kids also, right? Because the expectation that is built up, you try to match that expectation, and sometimes because you fail that expectation, you suddenly feel that I am a failure. There is no such thing as failure. There is only trying and learning.
Failure is a stepping stone
to success, because that is just, I just look at the word failure as a learning opportunity. It's a new opportunity to learn. Okay, so as long as you look at that from a thing, and everywhere there is learning, that's the mindset. That when you have that thing, so for people who are under stress, one is that first be reasonable with your expectations. Second is do what you're good at. Follow your passion. Know where your core strengths are. Follow that. Because if you are doing what you like, even if it doesn't get you the money, you still enjoy it.
Yeah, money is not be all and end all. Having said that, as long as you upskill and reskill, money will come to you. Not today, tomorrow.
I believe in this thing that value is always, there is a way in which the world works, and that way that works is that you give value, you get value. Simple equation. Okay, so it's always the question is, am I giving enough value? If you give enough value, the money will come. So don't focus on the money coming, focus on giving value.
This talk that you just gave is leading to the success, you becoming a success coach.
Yeah.
What is success coach? What are the things that you cover under this platform?
Right. So I'm of course focusing both the individual and the corporate. And for the individual, I'm calling it peak performance, success and happiness. Okay. Which is that first is you, before we kind of expect somebody to do something, we fix ourselves. How do you fix yourself? Fundamentally, there are three elements. You fix your mindset, you fix your behaviors, you fix your habits. If you can do these three things, your success and your element of earning money, all of that will fall. It is easier said than done. Okay, and it's a journey. The entire life can be a journey, and these things cannot be, may not be fixed. So the mindset is all about what I believe, what my values are, what my virtues are, what my purpose is, and really always kind of aligning yourself with who am I, how do I become the best, and how do I keep thinking about it in a positive way. Second element is saying, how do I become a better human? How do I keep getting over my limitations and my cheap behavior and my cheap thought process, evolve beyond that. Third is,
what if a person is constantly, wallowing in self-pity and negativity?
That is the element of mindset, right? Where you not elevated your mindset to understand, what is possible for you. Because why are you in a negative mind space? Because you are either caught in this is happening to me, people are doing this to me, and all of that. And this whole thing, somebody or the other will do something to you. It is to get out of that whole thing and say, I own my life. I am creating my life. I am willing to do what it takes. That ownership, accountability for your life comes, and that is the first step of the mindset. The last part of it is, I always recommend that go after your habits. Okay, fix your day. If you do enough good things in your day becomes happier, and as you build momentum, eventually you move towards a happier life because the solution is in your day. And what you do in your day is fix the parts of your day so that you put in good habits. Good habits,
How does the young student in their 20s have a fixed schedule, and how can he improve his life better?
First is understand that if you want to be successful and make a lot of money, you have to fix your life and your day. Okay, now your day starts with sleep. People are sleeping at 2 o'clock and saying, I'm waking up at this time, I sleep for 5-6 hours, I'm superhuman, all of that. You are not superhuman, you are just shortcutting your life. Okay, don't go up at all that thing, because sleep is so powerful. People don't understand the science of sleep. Need 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. Very, very important for you to have the energy you need during the day. Then what do you do with your mornings? The mornings are an extreme, that's why all, kind of religions have always focused on the mornings. Do your yoga, do your pranayam, do your, gratitude, all of that. Because the mornings have some, special power in terms, because there is science to it. The morning, if endorphins get released in your bloodstream, they stay in your bloodstream longer. And thereby, your mood gets affected. Your mood generates your thoughts. Your thoughts drive your actions. So these are all interconnected very beautifully. They didn't explain all of that. They said just do the yoga, do the meditation. Right? So you start with your day.
So you're saying Surya Namaskar is the best way to start your life?
Yes.
Start your day, sorry.
Yeah. In fact, if you can do 12 sets of Surya Namaskar, what happens is that the body releases endorphins at the point of breaking into sweat. So even if you do for 10 to 12 minutes, you have to do it to the point that you're sweating. At the point that you're sweating, your body is releasing endorphins in your bloodstream. That's really good. So people don't understand, it is stretching, it is, something and all that. No, there's a chemical influence of these things, and that is why it is important.
And yoga is definitely not religion-based in that context.
No. I mean, people misunderstand any of these things. Yoga now has gone to the West and they've made it into hot yoga, all those fancy things as a thing, but it is far more than that. It's a way of life. It's a way of life.
Can you talk in more in detail or elaborate on your success coach and your career for the last 1.5 years as a success coach?
So it's not been a very easy journey, for sure. Okay, so I've had my, kind of thing to say, oh, did I do the right thing and things like that. But I know that this is what I want to do. Okay, and I'm saying that I'm doing the same formula, giving myself 3 years to make it work. And if it works, it's good. Otherwise, I've given it everything that I've got, and it didn't work, it didn't work. That's fine too. Okay, but I'm more or less sure it will work, and the signs of that are now, kind of showing up, because now, I can see the road ahead more clearly. So when I started off, it was more about two people like you and little random bits of kind of thing, and I was also creating different types of, solutions that will work and things. So now I think I'm at a point where I know what I want to do, what will work. I've experimented enough, tested it. So now I know, so clarity. I think that was one piece which was missing in the initial days. Now clarity has come. I now follow up clarity with the right strategies. So then, because without clarity, where to invest in? What do I push? What do I sell? Who do I talk to? And all of that is very confusing. Now with clarity, now I know what my strategy is. Now I know that in LinkedIn I need to do a few things. I need to talk to people. This is how I kind of project myself and so on. So with clarity, I'm able to now propagate my kind of solutions much better. And with that clarity and the propagation, now the traction is picking up as a thing. And my, I think, model is I want it to be multi-pronged. And so I'm focusing on speaking, coaching, training and teaching and writing. So, different, and it gives me different accesses, it's a different, kind of thing. And of course, I've written my book, Happiness Habits, as well. So that also kind of generates some income.
So can you also talk about what is happiness coach and what do you do in that area?
It's a big domain. So the question is that, what is your definition of happiness? That's the first question I ask people. And people will say something vague. Right? And the problem is, the first is that people don't have a standard definition of happiness. Okay. Which is, I feel, a problem, because if that is what you're looking for in life and you don't know what you're looking for, how will you get there?
Yes, right? People say that I've got chocolate, so I'm happy.
Yeah. And that is the pursuit of pleasure. Now, pleasure is in the spectrum of happiness, but it is not happiness. Because the same chemicals that work for happiness work for pleasure also. But they have, in pleasure, you go up and down like a sugar rush. So when you go down, you can't stay there. So you want to go up again. So then you're constantly chasing. You're constantly chasing food, entertainment, sex, anything that will kind of get you out of the down. But then this up and down keeps you stuck. And you're not going to get out of that because you're thinking that this is what it is. But that is where the element of your habits and all that comes. Because what they do is they actually manage the same chemicals, but at a far more, stable way. They don't take it up like pleasure, but it goes up slightly. Over a period of time, the benchmark is higher. So then your triggers are lesser. What would irritate me doesn't irritate me. What would, kind of think, my thought process is much better, my tolerance is better, and my positivity is better. So that is how the element of, kind of happiness. Now, what is happiness? Just as a thing, it's a much bigger dimension. There are two large elements that I want people to understand. One is that happiness is about being a successful person in all the important dimensions of your life, which is your career, your money, your relationships, your health, your parenting, your spiritual, your hobbies. All of them have to work to a reasonable extent. Otherwise, examples like Rakesh about 40,000 crores. What is the point of a life where you have so much money but you're not living a full life, right? Same thing that, and today, so many people, have relationship issues and problems. Right? So, first is you have to look at the dimension of life more holistically, make sure all dimensions are balanced. Second is that two things. One is, I should always be doing the things that I'm very good at. I must enjoy what I'm doing, because every day matters in your journey of happiness. So, you can't say, I will become happy at 60. Enough old people to know that happiness doesn't literally land on you when you're old. You just think so, it doesn't happen, right? So today is the day for you to be happy. How do you do it? By doing what you're good at. The last element is always pursue being a good human. Have the right values, have the right virtues. That is our journey. And that and we know that all of us have shades of grey. We have in our thought process enough things going on over there. When you become a good human, it's not only about doing, but internally, even your thoughts change. That is the thing. My benchmark at some point that I want to become is when I can, my thoughts can be out there and I can really say what I'm thinking as it is without filters, then I'm involved.
Sriram, you explained it very well. But my next question to you is why youngster may understand what you have said. But youngster will question Sriram saying, I have a lot of aspirations. Aspirations means a lot of burning as well, or burnt out as well. So how does one balance that?
Okay. So first is to understand that happiness is multidimensional. I should do what I love. All of that is very important. So for me, I'll tell you what happened with me, right? So, and I know that, initially you're chasing in the Maslow's hierarchy also, you want security, you want entertainment, you want money, all of that. But what happens at some point of time, now it's happening faster because people are earning more money, that you get all that security and comfort very soon. What happens next? And for me, it actually took an episode of almost having a heart attack to change my whole dimension. I was about 40, when my younger daughter was just a month old. I thought I might die. And that was the turning point of my life, where I realized that, okay, but I'm not happy. Right. Okay, something is wrong. I'm empty on the inside. Everybody thinks that I have everything that I'm supposed to be, but I'm not happy. At that point, I decided to change. Okay, but so it takes a little bit of time. I think people have to go through their hormonal cycle of enjoying and going after things in life, but it will come. At your mid-30s, it's likely to hit you that I have the comforts, I'm not finding meaning, I'm not finding purpose, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. And then all of these things come back in full flow. Right? And then that's when the earlier you start pursuing, at least follow what you're good at. Because that itself takes care of a large part of, your eventual happiness.
I mean, just add to what Sriram mentioned is, one is being happy, second is being content in what you're doing. While you can have aspirations, and aspirations one should have, but you should also be content in what you're doing. You want to grow, fantastic, but growth will be progressive. It cannot happen as a 2 minutes noodles.
In fact, I just want to, sorry to interrupt you, but I have this term called contented aliveness as one of my definitions of happiness. People say, tell me what, don't give me stories, just tell me 2 words, right? I would say contented and aliveness. Contented is to know that, we are all, in a way, we must be grateful for what we have. We have perhaps more than what is needed. Yes, you can get more, but learn to be happy with what you have. Doesn't mean that you don't aspire for more, but just be happy with what you have. That will give you the ability to be alive to the opportunities.
True. I will also add that you constantly have to upskill and reskill. Young students have the stigma of saying, I want to grow, but I don't want to learn. What will you tell them?
Growth is part of the core needs of your life.
Of any being.
Of any being. Without growth, there is no meaning. So let's get out of the illusion saying, I'm not willing to learn and grow. Because even whether you want to choose it or not, life is always trying to teach you something. In its own way. And we just don't understand it as a learning. But life is always teaching us. It is necessary to be open. To be willing to kind of grow. And there will be times when you have less growth, you have less learning. There will be times when you have more of it and steeper curves and so on. But then you cannot eliminate that and say, I've arrived. There is no arrival over here. Okay, there is a journey and there are different stops in that journey and we continue to go. And as if you do enough in your life, I think things are always changing. I shifted from marketing to, to do a job in marketing to then recruitment to then different HR and from there now to, kind of coaching and happiness and so on. So there is always, things which are going to shift. So the whole idea that no, this is it and this is all, I can be is just an illusion.
You've also written a book. Can you talk us through your book? What is the title and what is the content of the book?
Yeah. So a little bit of that I covered earlier. The book is called Happiness Habits, and it originated from the instance where I had that episode of almost having a heart attack, and then for the next 8 years or so, I was just learning. I was learning, growing, trying to understand the meaning of life, happiness, and so on. So I followed coaching, gurus, religious, modern kind of philosophy and so on, until I came to a framework which I feel worked for me. So then I thought this framework is something I have to offer to people like me. So it doesn't really work for the people who are like a laborer kind of a mindset, because they're still chasing the basics of life. But this is very, very, kind of relevant for people who are, worked in the corporate for about 3 years, then you kind of settle. What I talk of there is that first start with finding what you're going to do, purpose. Second is how do I become better? Third is fix your emotional mastery as a thing. Then, learn how to be in flow. There are elements of productivity, peak performance, which you need to learn and, kind of practice on a regular basis. Then bring in the element of balance in different dimensions of life. Then it's about mindfulness. And I also talk a lot about in that thing about healing. Because that's not something which people often discuss. But healing is very important when we want to be born. Like we hold on to so many grudges. How do I forgive? How do I become more grateful? How do I, kind of learn to elevate my mood? And healing is an important aspect of letting go of our emotional baggage to really think. So those are the 7, I call it the 7 quests. So it starts with the mindset, the 7 quests, and then I have a framework of implementing it through habits. So that's the final, kind of thing. Saying that all this is fine, but now you go do something. And how will you do? Do it by fixing your habits on a daily basis.
You may have touched on this point, but I will reiterate. Anybody, it could happen to you and me as well, more so with the youngsters. If there is a financial problem or a health problem or a tragedy at home, we always constantly say, why me? So what is that he should not do, and he should not ask God why me, and how can he pull himself up or elevate himself?
Okay, that is a big answer. Okay, now if I start that answer, I think that will just take all the time, and it goes into a lot of spiritual wisdom as well.
I think briefly.
Briefly, okay. See, what happens to you is not in your control, right? The moment you are going to sit and blame, why did this happen, right? Now that is not going to give you any movement. It's not going to keep you stuck. Because when you say, this happened to me, I put the blame there, and what happens with blame is there is no responsibility for me to do it. It's beautifully kind of passed on to say, you did something bad, God did this, circumstances did that, oh, why is my luck so bad? Everybody, there is no human being who does not go through difficulties in life. The richest person to the poorest person, everybody has a cycle of outcome. Now, some people have it easier, some people lesser as a thing, but everybody goes through it. There is no concept of, kind of saying that it doesn't happen to me, right? It is about ownership. It's about ownership. There are reasons why certain things happen to you. All of them are rooted in you learning something. For example, this concept of how will I learn to be a more forgiving person if I am not exposed to a situation which needs forgiveness, right? That is a duality idea, which says that you learn from an instance which happens to you, and then is when you evolve. For that evolution to happen, something had to happen to you. Now, without that happening to you, how will I become grateful? How will I become forgiving? How will I, kind of evolve? So, but then somebody did that, right? So, if you keep blaming, say, oh, but what can I do? Anything that happens to you, always focus on, is there something that I can learn from this and do something? When you always redirect it into your own ownership, saying, okay, this thing happened to me, this bad thing happened, can I now take something from that?
Introspect is what you're saying.
And take action. Not only introspect. Introspect is to give you a shift in mindset. But with that mindset, now you should take action.
Right. We spoke about risk, but what was the risk that you took moving from the corporate sector, being head of the department in TE Shaw, and then starting your career? May not have started your career, may not have started being a success coach in terms of finance from scratch, but you had taken a huge shift. What happened? Can you tell us?
See, I've been planning it for a while. At least not planning it, but thinking about it. So it's been in my thing. So I've been telling people, saying, this is what I want to do. It's not a hidden thing. So my team knew, my management, everybody knew that somewhere at some point, kind of thing. And, I kept postponing it because this whole risk business is real, right? When you want to really do it, there's always apprehension and there's nothing. Then COVID came, that kind of thing. I wrote my book, that kind of thing. Once the book went out and I saw, decent response to it, that gave me confidence I'm willing to now, actually try it. And so I was very clear that there is risk. There is a, kind of element of it may work, may not work. And I said 3 years. If 3 years all in, do it, works, good, doesn't work, I'm willing to go back and, get into corporate. It's not that my skills are going to go away. Somebody will give me a job. I'm good at what I did. That's why, I got here. So, that's not a problem as a thing. I was willing to do it. If I have to relocate, I'll do it. All of that I'm kind of as a thing. So, and for me now, I have younger kids. Okay. I have EMIs to pay. So, it was also that I was not doing this as a retirement. I'm doing it as something which I'm passionate about, but it's also my livelihood. And hence, I have to make it work at a scale which justifies my decision. So, what I'm trying to build is equivalent or even higher than what I was, kind of earning earlier. And hence, that is driving me to say, I will not now sit, because sometimes you get in the comfort to say, okay, why should I go and sell to this person? Why should I send this email out? Because I don't feel good about it. Can I just not do it? Now, I don't have a choice. Okay, because I've burned the bridges. Okay, I need, to go forward. There is no really going back. I mean, there is an option of going back, but, I want to use that only when I have gone far enough, tested it, and said, okay, it works, doesn't work as a thing. So, I did my research, I did my kind of thing, and still there was struggle. Still there was, enough things to doubt as a thing. So, it took it, slowly, I think the momentum is picked up. And now it's like, in a much better shape.
Especially when you have young kids who are still in school, then you have to put them in college, etc. That's even bigger financial drain, I would say. What is your plan for the future, for the next 5 years? What are the things that you plan to do?
So right now I'm focusing on corporate. Okay, my thing is that I want to propagate happier workplaces. First, happier workplaces means teach the individual to be happy, teach teams to be happier, teach leaders, and make the culture happier. Big pieces. Okay, so very ambitious on its own, but everybody needs it. It's just that they have to, kind of be willing to do the work for it. It's not rocket science, but it needs work, and and it's slightly different from how it's been done in the corporate, because corporate doesn't talk about happiness; they talk about engagement, things like that. But emotions are the most under-tapped thing. If you want somebody to go and fight in a war, you can't use logic. You use emotion. That is the most powerful driver for human beings. Corporates are not tapping into it. So that is one of my things. They tap into emotions and feelings. So you want happiness. That's key. That's missing. Right? So that's one piece. Second piece from there is to move into retail, which is that teach people how to be happier in the context of the life. And my whole idea is from sleep to sleep. Is your opportunity in that? How can I fix my life? That's my eventual goal, to take that to a scale where you can propagate something which is practical and doable, but at a scale where people are, where it's flexible and doable to the extent they can.
Okay. Apart from your coaching abilities, capabilities, what else do you plan to do? What are your interests?
I'm all in this. Speaking, teaching, coaching, writing. It's a big spectrum on its own, because slightly different skills again, as a thing itself is like thing. For me, it is audios and books are the kind of things that I am kind of thing. One really thing that I'm keen is to bring ancient wisdom and stories in the element of what I'm doing, to kind of, because become too left brain, too logical. But emotion tapping is creativity, is through stories, right? So, but we need to alternate. To go too much over there, people say it's fluff, okay, nothing, right? You go too much logical, there's no inspiration, there's no motivation. I understand, but I'm not doing it. So how to do this? And there's so much ancient wisdom which needs to be used.
You're so right. I'm glad you spoke about this, because our Puranas, our Vedas, I hate to call Ramayana and Mahabharata as mythology. Our history of Ramayana and Mahabharata has got so many nuances, so many small stories which teaches you even your day-to-day life, it can change you dramatically. So the point that you mentioned, our ancient history and culture, has given us lots of inputs. Do you want to speak on that as well?
See, I think what we forgot is that we've stuck to rituals and practices.
I don't like to use the word ritual. I like to use the word ceremonies.
Yeah, but even in all of that, right, what got missed is, and why people are not doing it right now is, they're questioning it and they're not getting the right answers. But there is deep science on the why it is you are being asked to do it. There is such deep science. But our traditional Western science has not evolved to understand quantum mechanics, energies, there are so many. We have 7 layers of body. And all of this is documented and, kind of so many thousands of years ago. Still science is validating it. Right? And that is where the gap is. Because there was so much science that explaining all of that to a layman was difficult. So they codified it through pictures, through practices, through rituals, through ceremonies, so that you get the benefit of it. Now what happened with our, history and people trying to take away stuff, now why that needs to be done went off. Only some ceremonies and some things remain. And now people are questioning because the Western influences, they're saying, why? What is it? What is the thing, right? And people are getting convincing answers. And they're saying, oh, this is all just, no. If you take every year, and even in our system, there are certain things which were done in the context of that environment, which may not work now, and that maybe should not really continue.
No, but in a larger context, Sriram, I will agree with you that every small aspect, even like I was just talking to somebody, even the rangoli that we put down south, we used to use rice flour. Why was it used? Because the insects will not come inside the house. So there was huge science, it was all scientific and extremely logical. So for the youngsters to fashionably say that I don't believe in culture, Indian culture and tradition, but I will go, understand or agree with what the Western culture, I'm so sorry, please go back to your roots.
Yeah, no, and not only the rice flour, right, that, you first disinfect the whole place.
With cow dung,
which had antiseptic properties.
Yes.
And they would just do it. Nobody understood antiseptic, this, that, and all. They would just do it as a practice, saying that it's good for the place as a thing. And now, not only the rice flour, it's also the shape of what you're doing has an impact on how, because the brain thinks in pictures.
True.
So there is so much science in that one thing that you're doing.
One small rangoli.
Yeah. And this is what is missing, right? People don't understand that, that your mandalas, all of them, all shapes have a certain impact on your mind. That is one reason. Then there is a practical reason of that. Of course, it looks good. Then there is a reason of, using rice flour. Then there is, disinfecting the place. So much is there.
And not just the rangoli, but the stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata has got so many nuances. So I would strongly, through this podcast, would strongly advise and suggest to all the youngsters, go back to your roots. There's enough material on Google. Please read it. What else do you wish to do in your life, apart from being a success coach?
My life purpose is to try and transform lives of other people using my skills to the best that I can. And those skills are in the space of speaking, teaching, coaching. Right? That's what my ultimate intention is, to be able to really impact lives of people because I've done so much work. It is the money I've spent, the time I've spent. I don't think, people will have that much energy to do it. Now, I want to be able to offer that to people like me. Okay, I'm not claiming that I know everything, but I've certainly invested a large part of my life in learning. And if I can translate that into pieces which people can then quickly pick up and just use it, right? They don't have to spend the 8-10 years of study that I've kind of done. So not only the 8-10 years, even before that I've anyway studied. It's just that it kind of accelerated as a thing. But the idea is that, let's make our lives more pleasant. We have everything. This is the time in the whole history of mankind where there is so much comfort and so less happiness.
The last couple of questions is, what are the things of the podcast that we have spoken for the last few minutes is what is the three salient points or three important points that you would advise young students and young professionals?
First is
in terms of both their career and their mental wellness.
First is enjoy life. Okay, life is precious, but it's also meant to be lived fully and enjoyed, and all experiences add up. So don't look at experiences as good, bad, success, failure, but just as experiences, because the failure then makes you enjoy the success. That is how duality is, that is how life is, day and night, all of that is like that. So life is a journey, life is an experience. Just take it as an experience. Okay, don't get too caught up in expectations and so on. Second is, kind of do the work that's needed. Yeah, I'm not saying that you have to do hard work and things like that, but I'm saying that work is required. That you have to do it.
What you mean is get your hands dirty.
Get your hands dirty. Become the expert. Do what it takes to really go down. Because a lot of things I find, people are on the surface and then they claim to be experts. They've not really done the work.
They've not done it.
Okay, because that it is not possible for you to create great value. Do the work. As a third is always follow what you're passionate about. That is the most important fact. For that, first you have to discover what you're good at, and that I've seen even when I'm coaching very, very senior people, they say, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm good at. But they are good at something, that is what brought them here. But it's just to decipher that, pull it out, and do more of it.
My last question is, you mentioned networking. Young professionals should network. How does a student build his network?
See, first is that treat every conversation as an opportunity to connect. First is to listen actively.
And also meet people.
And meet and connect. And forge a genuine connection. Because if people think that you're just connecting with them with the need to sell them something, they're going to run away. Right? So it is not that. It is to have genuine, interesting connections. When you do that, eventually that connection then grows, but that only comes from the fact that I care about you. I want to know about you. I want to, kind of be the recipient of listening to what you have to offer. Then connections form. As you have more connections, from these connections, there will be people who can point you to other connections, people who can buy what you are selling, people who can direct you. And people who can value add. You can do service to them. It is always a give and take. It is never just taking, never just giving. Always give and take. And if you go into that mindset of genuine interest and then connect with as many people as you can, that's the
I will add to what Sriram mentioned is, as a student who's just in their college, you can build your network through your seniors, your lecturers, your visiting professors. You will get into doing internship, build your network there, and gradually it will grow. It was wonderful talking to you, Sriram, and thank you for being a guest today. We wish you all the best for your career, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Wonderful having you.
Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.